Boss Women Network. I'm Leilani with Boss Women Network, which is an organization that I created to kind of bring women together, whether it's networking through the podcast or networking at events that I do, or just, yeah, just networking, period. And to give out resources to women that are potentially starting their businesses or just, just getting started, trying to find their way in business, and then gaining tips from the interviews from the boss women that I interviewed, like women like you, that have already in business, already kind of experienced some things, the ups and downs, and they can kind of learn from you through the podcast. So today we're going to get started. And you say Miss John Bonnie?
Jonavi.
Jonavi. Jonavi. So
Yes.
tell me about yourself. How did you end up in Maui, and what kind of business do you have?
Um, so I ended up in Maui, well, 10 years ago. It's actually it's a the way it happened was, the classic you know, women in business and being overlooked when compensated. And so to kind of, I guess I had started with a startup engineering firm based out of California. And I was the third person that this person hired, and I was helping him start up his business. And he hired somebody to come on and I was doing the payroll, obviously. And so I brought them to onboard them, and I realized when I was processing payroll that he was paying her more than what he was paying me, and I was infuriated. And I was like, what the heck, like helped, it was infuriating. And so I was like, you know what? At the time, we were my husband and I were at a crossroad. And my husband was like, we got married on Maui, and he wanted to basically like start something new. And he was like, he got offered a position. And so he was like, let's just move. Let's do it. Let's move. Let's move to Hawaii. And he was like, things don't look promising where you're at right now. You can find a job anywhere. So launched, sold everything. We literally left within like 4 weeks. Sold
Wow.
everything. Yeah, sold everything. It was crazy how it all happened. The place that we were renting decided to sell their house and told us like all within like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Hey, we're selling our condo. You have an opportunity to move out or to exit your lease. And we were like, all right, well, it was like one thing after another that kind of lined up our path
Oh
to come
wow.
to
That was
Maui.
that
So
was that was just signs leading up to go there.
yeah, totally, 100%. And they say here in Hawaii, they say like it's really the ina, which is the I well, I'm sure you're aware of like the words and stuff. And so there she's either going to welcome you, or if you have good intentions, or she's going to eat you up and spit you out. And so I felt like we were being pulled to come to Maui, and things lined up. But fast forward, I ended up, when I put my resignation in for this company, and I told him that I was leaving, he he was like, "No, please don't leave. Like, take, And I ended up staying with the company, working remote
Mm.
um, for another 6 years. Got promoted, was the promoted to the VP of operations, and um, I learned a lot through that business. And so which I'm glad the way it all worked out and everything. So I mean, it didn't end well at the end, but I did get a lot of experience and through that, and also working remote, which was something that was very unheard of back, before pre-COVID.
Right.
Right. Pre-COVID, it was like, I always tell everyone I learned how to work remotely before it was cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the remote work. And because you can still have
Yeah.
your life and just do everything you want to do and manage your day and
Yeah.
work remote. So that's what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, so now I started my own business. I apologize. I forgot to turn off my do not disturb.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I started my own business. So like I ended up, it didn't, like I said, the other company didn't end up. I learned a lot. I did a lot. I and then it didn't end up ending well, but it started out like me with starting my own business consulting. And basically, because I kind of was at a aha moment, like, what am I going to do? Um, I started, working with this engineering firm. I always had this goal as a business, woman was that I always wanted to make six figures. Like that was something that was like, I want, because, like I'm 45 years old. And so like back when I was in my early 20s, it wasn't, it's rare for women, to make a six figure income. And so for me, it was always something that I wanted. It was a goal of mine in the business industry where I was like, I want to say that I made six figures, or I can make six figures, or, and, and so I did that with this company. And there's a lot that goes into that, like how I should strategically put myself, because that one time where someone got overpassed. And I don't like to be about, in the business world, I don't see, like color or that. I see
Yeah,
opportunities,
right.
right? But I do have experience, like where to me it was a very blatant, she was, a white woman hired, and I'm a Latina, and they were, there was, a husband and wife, they were white. And I felt like, the reason, I kind of felt that I couldn't
It
help but to
happens.
feel that way,
Yes,
right?
as a Black woman, I have experienced the same, so I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And so I strategically placed myself where I was like, okay, this is never going to happen again. I will not let this happen again. And so I had a conversation with the owner, and I told him, I said, look, you want me to continue to run your operations of your business and to support you? Because basically he was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because this person that he chose to pay more couldn't do anything without me telling her how to do and where, and like with what she couldn't do anything without any direction.
Mm.
She lacked the confidence, she lacked the experience. And so she would turn around, and for a while there was a little bit of a rub where I was like, figure it out, you're getting paid more, and then me being the type of person that I am, I'm a natural leader, and I love to help. And so, my big heart kind of, gave away. And then I finally started, was like, okay, well, then I'm going to show him what, my skill set. And then I finally was like, all right, look, you want me to continue to run the operations of your business? Then I will always be the second highest paid person in your business. This won't happen again where, you pay somebody else. And he was like, okay. And it was an
Wow.
understanding.
Wow.
It was an understanding. It was like, it's so funny, Leilani, like, or not funny. It's just like now that I think about it, I'm like, I got to know him so well, right? And that's one thing about me. Like I'm really good about reading people and um analyzing and assessing, and that's part of right leadership and management, right?
Right.
Is identifying people's strengths, and playing to that, right? You play to that as far as you're managing your team, right? It's like, okay, well, this person, and so,
Right.
sometimes you manage up, right? And so there a lot of times I read him really well, and I always knew when he was bringing on somebody new, he would get all squirrely, and it was, like, okay, we're gonna, bring this new person on. All right, cool. Let me know. Like, okay, let's put their offer letter together. Like, I was excited, right? Because I always wanted to be excited about who we were bringing on, because that
Right.
meant that I possibly had the opportunity to get a raise, right?
Hmm.
Because he was not going to give me a raise, like, it just, and that's why I strategically made that a kind of an understanding that, like, okay, you bring somebody on, then that means, like, anytime you pay somebody more than what I'm making, that means I get a raise. And
Hmm.
so,
That was some
yeah.
smart strategy you had there. Put your foot
Yeah,
down.
yeah. I'm sorry, what was
I
that?
said you put your foot down. You wasn't taking
I
it. Sometimes we have
I
to be
did.
direct and forward. Sometimes, we can be a little intimidated to speak our minds when we know what we deserve. So
Yeah.
that's definitely some inspiration for somebody that may be watching this in the future, that don't just get walked over. Put your foot
Yeah.
down and demand what you deserve.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a little bit, it's a little bit of experience, right?
Mhm.
And growing into your confidence. And because
Mm.
I mean, Leland, like, I didn't always have this confidence to, like, okay, this is what what I'm gonna do. Because I've come from, I worked in a union. I worked with men, predominantly men, and helping them, and running a union hall and doing that. And so a lot of, in that industry, it was, man here, woman here,
Right.
you know. And so I kind of, and I took a lot of, um, it was tough. It was a tough industry. And it made me a tough businesswoman.
Mhm.
And so with that, it was like, okay, and I'm not, there's things that I'm going to tolerate, and then there's things that I'm not. So with every experience in where I've come from, I've learned, okay, there's things that we tolerate, and then there's things that we don't. But
Right.
it's us knowing what are we going to tolerate, and what aren't we, and then what are we going to do about the things um that we're not going to tolerate? Like, how are we going to fix that, and how are we going to do better? And so a little bit of both parts. It's kind of, for me, it's mostly for me and what I want, but also too, to show other women, and sometimes it's not even always women. It's just anybody in the workforce. They don't
Right.
always know how to advocate for themselves,
Right.
or to say, hey, this is what I want. Because I've had experience too where, with men, as a business consultant, um, I help men too start up their own business, and they sometimes face the same things. What is it? Not getting paid enough. And
Mm.
so they're like, okay, what do I do? I want to get paid more. I want to make more money. And I'm like, well, start your own business. The
Mm.
only way you're going to make more money is if you start your own business and you offer your skill set as a service. And so there's been a handful of men that I've also helped, guide them as far as, okay, well, this is what you need to do to start your business.
Mm.
And so I help them. So I don't just only, focus on helping and supporting, women. I try to help anybody that is wanting to start out as a small business, and needs that confidence of, you can do this, like, this is what you need. You line them out. This is what you need. Run.
How
Go,
do
my
you
child. Just
how do
kidding.
you help somebody get that type of, or gain that type of confidence to just go like that? Or even, do you help them get the confidence in their jobs as well, like to speak up and advocate for themselves? Or are you just, mainly your business is to focus on helping somebody advocate for themselves, is jumping out there and starting their own business?
It's whatever. It's whatever. I'll help anybody, in whether, because it goes, it's all all the same, right? It's all the same steps that you have to do. Whether it's in a, corporate, in the corporate world, or if you're starting out, doing your own business, it's all the same. And sometimes too, it's people, knowing that, or not knowing, but not knowing, or having that confidence, or they haven't been told, or they don't have that network, that insecurity. And so for me, it's, like, I've always really been, um and I didn't always know it, but now I'm getting better about it, where I'm like I'm a cheerleader, and a coach, and no, you can do this, and no, you get in there, you deserve more money, and these are all the reasons, and you line them out, and okay, what do you got, and huddle up, and we, like, I go through, like, and whether it's them needing, more money in their in the corporate world, or they want to venture out, because you still have to do the same thing when you venture out on your own and you start your own business. You have to highlight your skill set, you
Mhm.
have to sell yourself, right? And you do that in the corporate world too. You got to go in there, and sell yourself. It's just, I think for women, we've always had to do that more, we've always had to prove more, um than for men. But men also too, if they don't have that confidence, um they too can have, they have to work themselves up to sell themselves, or advocate that, hey, you know what, I need more money. It's easier for men.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's easier for men. Men just go and they say, hey, I need more money. And um most of the time, men are the ones that are in those higher, um
positions. Yeah.
yeah, positions, where they just, all right, they approve it.
Mhm.
um Women have to work a little bit harder to get
Yeah.
approved for, or
So
work
what is the
harder.
name of your company, and what are some of the things that you offer, like, to your clients?
So the name of my company is JG Consulting Enterprises, and I offer everything from, like, one of my pitching points is that I'm a plug and play type person. So I've I've done it all, sales, project management, payroll, bookkeeping, um, software integration, anything, business related, um, I offer as a service. And so if it's, somebody starting out their new business, they don't know where or what to do. Some people don't even know, how to, like, they don't even know that they need a business address.
Mm.
They use their home address, and then their home address and everything gets put out there for public record. And so
Right.
I kind of coach them on all of that, is like, okay, like, you have to establish yourself as a business, separate from your home or residence. You're starting out, you don't want
Right.
to you don't want to do that. um and business license, they don't know how to go and get a business license. I had a startup construction worker, 2 weeks ago, and I told him, okay, this is what you need to do. And he went. I said, okay, let me know when you're ready, and then I'll help you. Well, he didn't, and then went and thought that he could do it on his own, and he got scammed for $500
Oh,
on some
no.
website to get his business license. And so he's like, okay, I got my business license. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like looking it up through his state. He's in the state of Arizona, and I'm like looking it up. And then he's like, I said, I don't see it on here. Are you sure? Where's the letter? They should have sent you a letter. And he's like, oh no, they didn't send me a letter. I said, are you sure? Well, what email? Like, we start doing the whole, and I was like, oh no. And then
Mm.
sure enough, the one thing though, he listened though. He was like, no, but I used my credit card. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I was like, do not use your bank account, your business bank account for anything. It's so hard to contest any, and that's the other part too, is starting out a new business is people don't realize how much um, potential there is for fraud. Like they do. And so, yeah, so I anything business related, startup, or you've had somebody, working, businesses have somebody working and they don't have the time because they're a small business. They don't have the time to train or teach somebody how to do payroll. Um, some businesses don't know. Some do. Women owned businesses, they know how to do because they come with that experience.
Right.
But some businessmen don't, and so they need that type of person just to come in and be like, hey, I need someone to do payroll. All right, let me see, what do you got? And then
Oh, so
I go
you'll
in,
train their employee to handle the payroll. You'll
train an employee, or offer it as a service and I do it for them,
Oh,
you
really?
know and then they don't have to do it.
What about like virtual assistants and things like that?
Yeah, I will, whatever business is needed, whatever a business needs, I will do it,
And
and
you can
I
handle multiple companies by
yes.
yourself.
Yes. Well, I do have somebody that I have recently brought on
Okay.
to help me because it became a lot. Like
I can
brought on
imagine.
I brought on there was a lot of new hires. I had someone who had somebody helping them with their business for 20 years, and then it went bad, and then he was like in that position of, I don't know how to do any of this administrative stuff, and
Hmm. Hmm.
so having to put stuff together and doing that. So but yeah, I have somebody that helps me. And I mean, my goal is to be a business that I have multiple clients that I'm helping and managing, and kind of, that direct person that is going to help a small business figure, whatever it is, whatever challenge they have, out. And that instant, right? The instant gratification, because sometimes it's frustrating when you reach out to support and you get routed out,
Oh, yes, yes. Hmm.
and then you're trying to troubleshoot, and that in itself, it's like small businesses don't have, they're trying to manage all the balls that they're juggling in the air, let alone stop, okay, wait, let me troubleshoot this and try to explain, what my problem is, and it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to fix something, whether it's, software integration, um or even, like, setting up a new account or something,
Right.
and so, and
So you help with all the
so
details of a small business. They can just
yep.
contact you and you'll be able to help with payroll, virtual assistants, social media management, or things like, is that
I
something?
Yep, I've done that. I actually I helped a small business here on Hawaii, um and I helped him launch, he'd been trying to get his website up for years, and then we came in contact, and then I was like, well, let me help you. I'll help you put it, and like, and then, got him set up, lined up, and he was like, okay, and just, I'm about process, like if you have a smooth process, and it's not so clunky and painful, and it's something, that you can just manage and do on your own, then my work is done.
Hmm. So you're not putting them
Like,
on like a monthly fee, you just charge them for that particular thing, like a flat rate, and then
well, yeah, it depends. No, it depends, because
okay.
sometimes, small businesses can't afford a big chunk, or a big invoice,
Right.
So I break it down, just depending on where they're at, as far as revenue, what they bring in. Um, we kind of run through that. Okay, what can you afford? Okay, this, if it's 400, 500 a month, then we just, all right, well, then we break it out and we drag it out for, all right, well, if it's a 8 month or 9 month contract. And then they get my, my support for that. And then they get at the end of the 8 months and they decide, do they still want to keep me on as a, or are they good to fly on their own, and then they call me on the next project. So it's whatever small businesses that they need help with, or I figure it out. I'm not so like rigid as far as how I bill or invoice them.
Pretty neat. What about event planning? I'm just coming up with different things in case somebody sees it.
Yeah.
I need to contact her. I need help with that.
Yeah. So event planning, I mean, it's something that I wouldn't shy away from. I mean, it does, I've done it before as far as like company parties, and I've done a lot of that. A lot of my contacts though are definitely in California. I have some here in on Maui. But for me, I mean, do I love to put a party together? For sure. Am I good at it? Yeah, I'm pretty good at it. Because I have strong coordination, like I'm good at coordinating, and I'm a people person. So for me, like I love to network, and part of networking is I think why
Yeah.
event people are so successful, having good contacts. And so yeah, I mean, event stuff, yeah, I mean, I would love to, do something like that. I love to network, so
That's pretty
anything
cool.
to network. People come to me all the time. They hit me up on my social media, and they'll ask me, hey, Jonavi, like I'm that go-to person. Hey, Jonavi, do you know somebody that can help? And I'm like, well, let me see. And then I'll
Mm.
go and I'll look in and see. And I'm like,
You have
okay,
all the
here.
contacts.
Yeah, I try. I love to, like I said, I love to network. I love to give to share in connecting people so that they get business as well. So
I love it.
um,
I love it.
yeah.
So right now your clients are in Hawaii and in California, but since this is a remote company, so you're open to other places as well.
Oh yeah. So I do
Okay.
have clients. Like I have a client in Texas.
Okay.
Um, I have a client in Georgia. So I do, but prime my most is in Maui, Hawaii, and California.
Okay.
So, and then my recent hire is in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. You did say that. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're
So
expanding your business. I mean,
yeah.
you're open to clients all over.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, what is it? An entrepreneur never says no, right?
That's true. How do you market? How do you get your business out there to the people? What is your marketing strategy?
Um, I think it's mostly just networking,
Mm,
mostly, asking questions. Um, it's mostly networking. I'll every once in a while here and there, I'll go on social media, and I love to, and that's how I found your page.
thread.
Um, yeah,
I love
and
threads.
just yeah, yes. And so I go in, and I love to support. I love to support other small businesses. So um, for me, it's, like that. I think part of that too is supporting small businesses is finding out like, okay, what do you need help with? And that comes with the consulting side, right? Seeing where the need is. What are you trying to, what are your goals as a business? And then putting that, oh, okay, well, let me know when you're ready to take some help for that, I can help. So
That's
yeah.
pretty cool that you help
Yeah.
small businesses. I also help small businesses through the Boss Woman Network, giving out small resources like yourself, but I just have it on the website where you can I help them start their podcast, or I have the links to where you can start your nonprofit organization, or you can start your LLC. I just give away all the steps to starting your LLC and direct them where to go. I don't charge them for that. It's just a whole breakdown. But if they want me to do it for them, then I will charge a fee. But I also give you the steps to do it yourself. Now, if you run into issues, then you have to pay for my consultation. But
Right.
outside of that, yeah, I'm definitely about the inspiring and helping the entrepreneur get their business started. So I love what you're doing, and the virtual aspect of it, because I was actually looking for another virtual assistant as well to handle some additional things for me. So I might be looking into your business. Do you have a website that you can put
I
out?
do. I do have it's the domain on my email address, the jgcenterprises.com.
What is it
Um,
again?
jgcenterprises.com.
jgcenterprises.com. And how do people
Yeah.
find you on Instagram?
It's the same handle on Instagram, JGC Enterprises. Kept it all
Oh,
matching. But I go on, I do, you know, Instagram, Thread, and LinkedIn. I
mm,
have, LinkedIn. I go in and I just kind of go and check and see. And when I see somebody up there, if they ask, and then I'll go and I
mm,
engage, you know.
mm. That's the
So,
best networking these days. You don't even have to leave your house to network. You can just network straight online.
right?
It definitely works for
Yes.
me because I've been meeting a lot of great people on Threads. I
Yeah.
think Threads is the it place right now.
Yeah, for sure. What, so tell me about your podcast. So you have a podcast and
Yes, it's called the Boss Women Network. So, yeah, so basically, I just interview women like you that have businesses that can give out resources, give out business tips, inspire the next person. Um, that's potentially going to start their business or that's already in business. Like you gave out one amazing tip by advocating for yourself. Some woman may have been in business for a long time, working for a company, and has been overlooked for raises or positions, and then don't feel comfortable speaking up for herself. And she may be a minority. And that makes it even harder to want to advocate and speak up for yourself. So by you saying that, that's an inspiration in itself to say, you know what, I'm not, if I'm going to be doing all this work, you're not going to be paying people when I know everything from bottom to the top and I'm hiring people that I have to train and then they're making more money than me. So advocating for yourself, that's definitely an inspiring tip to give out to the next woman or man actually, but mainly focusing on women. So yeah,
yeah.
so the Boss Woman Network podcast is exactly about that. And I also do a roundtable discussion with women on Saturday. So it's like maybe 6 women on there, and we're all talking about business, giving out business tips to women, and they're all talking about their business. I'm asking them questions, different strategies or different things that they've had struggles with in business and how they was able to press forward, just different things. So if you're ever available on a Saturday, you could definitely be on the Zoom session with us because it's always somebody different. Some women come in multiple times on different Saturdays, but there's always some different women giving out their insights, and then they're able to network with each other and share their information. Because I also send out an email to get everybody could have their contact information as well. So it's all about networking and connecting with other women in business with other women.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. And so then how do you get people onto your podcast or as guests? Because I've never been on a podcast before, and like me, I'm on goals, right? Like
Mhm.
that's one of my goals. I'm like, I want to be on a podcast. I love podcasts.
Yeah.
So
So how do I get people on there?
yes, on
Just
your
reach
podcast.
networking, reaching out to people on threads and things like that. So, and then they don't mind. As soon as I reach out to them, I'll put a post out there and they'll respond to it. And they'll either come in person because I have a content space. If they're in a different city like you, then we'll do a Zoom like this, and then I'll put it on the YouTube channel. And then I also put the audio on Spotify, Amazon, Audible, things like that. So it's Apple Music. It's on different places as well. So yeah.
Okay.
So
And
you'll
so
be
like,
there. And on
oh really?
Instagram, I post
Ah,
clips on Instagram. as well.
Oh,
So, yeah, so
oh
people
no.
people will see it on Instagram, and then they'll click on the link, and then it'll lead them to the YouTube channel, and then they'll watch the video on the YouTube channel as well. So yeah.
Oh, very cool. All right. I had no idea. I was like, I thought this was a screening for the screening.
No, no, because you're not in Houston, Texas. So if you were in Houston, Texas, I would definitely have you in person. So if you ever visit Houston, I would definitely have you here at the actual content space, and we can sit down on the couch and do an interview, a full interview.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, there's you just got to put it out there, right? And
Hmm.
then things just happen. So I would definitely love to come out. That would be exciting.
Yeah,
In person for
yeah,
sure. And the same goes here. Maui.
yeah,
If you ever visit Maui, let me know.
yeah. I haven't come to Maui, but I just went back to Hawaii in 2023. As soon as we got there, I was like, they announced there was going to be a hurricane coming. I was like, what? But then it didn't come. So I was like, so I had to change all my plane tickets and cut my hotel trip and I just shortened everything because I thought the hurricane was coming. So we were only there for 4 days instead of the 7 days that I had planned because I was like, I'm going to get out of here before a hurricane because we're surrounded by water. I was terrified.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
no.
But I really enjoyed myself. I really did. It's such a beautiful place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I have not
It,
been to Maui, so I heard Maui is even more beautiful than Honolulu.
yeah, it's definitely a vibe for sure.
Mm,
That's what I tell
mm,
everyone. It's a vibe. And also too, Honolulu it's like it's a lot busier than
mm.
Maui. Maui's a lot more slow paced. So when people are like, where should I go? Or, I'm like, okay, well, what are you looking for? Are
Mm.
you looking, for a little bit of beach with a little busyness? Then Oahu. But if you're
Yeah.
looking for some downtime, decompress, you know, just
Relaxation.
relaxation, then Maui for sure. And if you really, really want to like totally downshift, Kauai is even slower than slower. So
Wow.
that's kind of how I
Mm.
I, I branch them.
Were you there? Well, you were there when they had the fires and everything. Was that Maui?
Oh, yeah, I was on Maui. Yeah, it was. Yep, it was here. It was devastating. It
Mm.
was it was, and the thing is too is like it's so heartbreaking, like there's um so much loss. And the thing here about Maui or Hawaii, I should say, is a lot of the established myth here is about generational, right? It's like people have had their homes, or it's generational.
Yeah.
They're very much like Latinos, where everybody, you know one family, they got multi families living together,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how they survive, right?
Mm.
Through uh, the the ever growing
Yeah.
like economy.
Right.
And so it was super heartbreaking because there were so many people that have had their homes for generations,
Right.
and to start, like, how do you
Start
start
over from that.
over from
Yeah.
that, and
That was
it's
horrible.
so heartbreaking. Yeah, it was very, it was devastating. I had a friend that she has her own sunscreen line. She's
Oh.
a Lahaina Organics, and so she is a boss babe, and her and I totally just we became friends when I moved to the island. She's like my first one friend here on
Mm.
island, and so I didn't know if she was alive or not. We went 4 days, and I was like just like so
Oh.
worried
Yeah.
because you couldn't get a hold of it. It was devastating. You couldn't get a hold of um the phone lines were down, the electricity was down, and so my family, my family was reaching out, what can we do, from the mainland, I was like, just pray for my friend April and her family. Um, and that's what I did. I think it was the 3 days. It was, I think on the third day was when I finally, we just kept, hey, has anyone seen the April? Has anyone, and then finally we were like, she's fine.
Oh,
And
good.
yeah, and I was just like, I just prayed and prayed, and I was just like, God, please, I just have them all together. I just want
Yeah.
them all together, like, because, we, I don't know, just we had lost, my brother-in-law 3 years ago, and that heaviness of losing, that separation of family,
Right.
that grief is so heavy. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't want that for anybody. Not that anyone wants, but like it was too soon, you
Yeah.
know.
Understandable.
So, but anyway, yeah. So it was really tough, and there was a lot of heaviness and loss, and
Yeah.
and so
You
yeah.
didn't live
But
near you didn't live near that area. You weren't impacted.
no, no. I mean, I live about 40 minutes away from where the
Oh,
fires were.
okay.
Um, but my husband works over there. So my husband works in the town, and he actually was working that day when everything um happened, and just literally missed the fires. I want to say within like hours, three,
Wow.
four, yeah. And just he was like, came home. We actually lost our truck in the fire. But like, to me, it was like, I don't like that. It's like, man, I'm like,
That's replaceable. Yeah.
yes. And that's what he was so, I mean, we're very humble people. Like, like, I've always been like the type of person where it's like, I don't need brand new cars and this and
Right.
that. I've always, so our truck was paid off. It's been paid off for
Mm.
years. Um, and so we didn't have the proper insurance, fire insurance.
Oh
And
no. Yeah.
so it was, and my husband was like, and of course we didn't know that right, off the
Right.
bat, but it was like, whatever, like, and he was just like, no, my truck, because we've had it for,
Yeah.
you know,
Memories.
wow. And well, yeah, for years. I mean, 15 years,
Yeah, that was a part
16
that truck
years.
was a part of the family.
Yeah. And so we were just like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe, and I told him, I don't care. Like, honey, like, losing, I'd rather us have to come up with money to buy a new vehicle
And
than
grieving.
having,
Yeah, totally understand. So,
yeah. So, yeah. But other than that, I mean, I feel like us is like nothing compared to what others, my
right.
friend April, she lost everything,
Oh
everything.
no.
She was going she was on the verge of opening up her own coffee shop, um and she all the stuff that she bought,
Oh
to start her,
no.
yep, all went, she has four girls. I mean, they're awesome. She has the no, I'm sorry, four. She has three girls, and they're all surfers. They're rad little surfers. And yeah, they lost,
Oh, that's
all.
bad.
I know, it was a really, hard time for her and her family. So for me, it was like whatever, we'll just save
Right,
up for another another vehicle,
right, right. Totally
compared to what
understand.
others lost. Yeah,
All right. Well, I won't hold
yeah,
you any longer. We're running out
yeah,
of time here, but I will say
yeah.
before we get out of here, I would like for you to give one piece of advice for someone that's just getting started with their business. And then give out your social media handles again and your website before we go.
Um, just to do it. Just do it. Like, like, I mean, Nike wasn't far off, right, with their slogan.
True. Just do it.
Their slogan, just do, like, don't think about it. Don't, like, I I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm glad, that I finally ventured off and started my own business. Of course, it was, the heartache of it, right? Of me, um, but I would have never done it. I would have never started my own business if I wouldn't have went through the heartache and to get that motivation in my belly, right?
Right.
Um, I would have just stayed doing what I was doing, helping another business make money.
Mm.
And now I'm like, you know, and I'm like, you can do anybody if you want, your skill set, and just put it out there and do it and don't stop,
Yeah.
and constantly put your goals as far as like, um, put your goals out there. Like what do you want to do? What do you want to do next? Because everything is achievable.
It is.
You just have to put the work in, and don't think about it. Just, if this is what you want to do, just do it, and don't be scared to fail, because in failing, or mishaps, maybe not so much failing, but mishaps, that's where the real growth is. Like that's where you really are like, okay, you really have to put that, like, okay, well, you know what, okay, this didn't work, okay, how can I do better, or how can I change, and for the next time, and to to launch through that growth period. So don't think about it, just do
That's
it,
good.
but be organized.
Be organized.
Organization is what's going to, your coaches don't have a clipboard for no reason, right?
Mm.
You gotta have your list of to-dos, and you know
And get
okay,
it
what
done.
do I need to do next? Because you can't let it all stay in your head.
Oh, yes, you sure can, because you will forget.
Yes, you will.
You
You
will.
will.
Well,
Yeah.
that was definitely some great advice. Thank you for joining me on the Boss Woman Network podcast today. And
Thank you
before
for
we go,
having me.
yes, thank you. Come back anytime. But before we go, I would like you to give out your website and your Instagram handle one more time.
Okay, so my website is, I want to make sure I'm doing jgcenterprises.com is my website. And then the same thing goes for my social media handle as well. Um, it's the same, JG. I want to make sure that yeah, JGC Enterprises is my handle. So
For all
I'll
your
email it to
business
you.
functions, huh?
Yeah, yeah, whatever, all your business needs.
Yeah.
I am your go-to. And even if I've had a couple people even reach out and it's like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And I don't know. And then I'm like, okay, what you got? And we run through, um and then I'm like, no, you're doing it. And they're like, you know, even if it's just that. And sometimes we just need that. We need that other person to
Bless you.
tell us that we're doing a good job.
Ah,
You know,
a support
you know,
system. That's good.
yeah, we need that. And I want that, because we need more of that in this world.
We
We
do.
need we need positive pat on the back, and there's too much ugly and tearing down going on. We don't need to be a part of that.
I say that all the time. There's too much in the world. We need some positivity. We got to uplift each other, bring each other up,
Yeah.
not tear each other down.
Yeah. No. And I'm not part of that. So if I see, if I and I've always been that way, Leilani. Like always, since I was a kid. I always shied away from that the ugly negativity part, and
Yeah,
I've just,
I don't like that either.
yeah. So I've never, if I see that or going on, I either say, yeah, no, that's not cool, and I just
Or totally
go,
distance yourself from it.
yeah. So
That's
if I'm not part of it, there's a reason why.
yeah. That's it. That's it.
Right?
All right.
So, well, it's so nice to meet
It's
you,
nice to
and
meet you as well.
yeah, I hope our paths cross again soon, and
Same.
reach out anytime, and somebody well, you do the you and I both kind of have the same in the same industry, but if you
Yeah.
ever know somebody, like even if it's just to cheer them on,
No, I will definitely send them your way.
yeah,
'Cause we may be in the same industry, but it's different. So I
yeah,
will definitely send them your way.
yeah.
Well, thank you
All
guys
right,
for tuning in. Thank you for being here. And until next time, bye.
bye.